Hello there and welcome back to my YouTube channel. James here as ever for today's video all about how to pass ACCA exams if you have children. Now, we are in some real company today because lovely Agnes has volunteered to come on today to talk to everyone about her experiences of having children and passing all of her ACCA exams. So Agnes, fire away. Introduce yourself.
Hi guys, I'm Agnes. I am mummy of three. I'm a full-time working professional. I am also ACCA member. I qualified in July 2019. So under 2 years actually. And I'm working as a full-time professional at the moment. I'm a financial controller in a small UK branch of a big US organization. And I'm moving on the job soon as well. So that's exciting for me that I managed to find a job in the pandemic. But yeah, the whole topic that we want to discuss today is we know that many of your viewers, James, had been approaching you asking, how do you guys do it when you have kids, right? It is hard. And I've started studying my ACCA when I had one child, then I had two children, and then I had three children at the end of it. So I've been growing my family while I was studying for ACCA.
I know.
It was tough.
And this is my predicament because so the viewers know and realise I unfortunately don't have any children. I don't even have a girlfriend. So yes, I was struggling to give some insight. So
you're still very young. You have time.
Thank you, Agnes. That's very sweet of you. But just so everyone is aware as well, Agnes is a fantastic YouTuber as well. And she's got ACCA content. What I've done is I've put her description and details below. So click on it, go check out the videos. They're really, really helpful. But we're going to come on to some top tips now. If you have children, how you could manage everything that goes on and then put that into play to pass your ACCA exam. So Agnes, what's the first thing that is imperative from your experience?
There is actually quite a few things that I would like to mention, but I think the most important thing is that you do need to compromise and sacrifice. There are two most important things, I believe. And the compromise would be that you have to compromise the time that you have. So you would probably put your children to sleep, and this is when you have time to study. So when I used to be a student, I used to study in the evenings. That was my time. And probably that's not the best idea because you're not freshest of your you don't learn as well as you do in the morning, in the evenings. But this is when I used to study because I found myself being able to sit down in a quiet house when everybody was asleep and just put my head down and study every single day. Yes, you heard me right, every single day. And it's not about you sitting for 5 hours studying long chunks of knowledge because it's not going to stick in. Sit down every single day, half an hour, however long you can manage to study, because that will add on. That will add on. And at the end of, say, one topic, recap what you've learned and just do it that way. Obviously, towards the revision time, towards the time that you're preparing for the exam, try to increase the time if you can. And that's how you get on through it, right? As to a sacrifice, this is what I'm talking about when instead of sitting and watching your favorite drama with your husband, your boyfriend, your children, or instead of, I don't know, having a nice glass of wine, you sit down and study. So that's a sacrifice. It doesn't take long for you to do those exams. You know, there is only 3 months time that you have from the time you probably started preparing for it, maybe 2 months, however long you have, up until the time you sit down your exam. Just sacrifice, you know, this is all going to pay off. This is all going to finish one day. It's not an endless thing that happened. And you may not know that, but I have actually failed a lot of times. So probably not a very encouraging thing to say, but if you have failed the exam, don't feel discouraged. The amount of times I failed is actually more to what I've passed. And if you visit my YouTube channel, you could see that.
It's all right. I failed twice as well. It's okay. But for what we're getting there, little and often, little bursts, little chunks. And when you're actually studying in the evening, I'm assuming I put out tips out there to say phone away, eradicate distractions as well. Do you listen to music at all, or how do you focus in?
No, I find that if their music plays in the background, any noise in the background, it distracts me. But obviously, everyone has different learning style, right? What works for me wouldn't necessarily work for the other person. So if music is something that calms you down and lets you focus, by all means use it. But that wasn't how I used to study. I just used to switch everything off, put my phone away, as you said, because people do tend to call you in the evenings whenever you're busy. Yeah, put your head down, no TV, no noise, sit down and study. Dedicate that time to study. And this is why I did not want to do it in the mornings as well, because my children tend to know when I got up off my bed and they used to wake up. So no matter how early I used to wake up, they used to know that mommy's up, I need to get up. But in the evening, they just sit tired and they sleep. So this is why I chose evenings as a time to study.
You see, these are ACCA tactics and insights that we bring, you know, firsthand on our discussions here. But what about weekends? And you talked about balancing and available time. How did you get on from when you're working full time in the week versus the weekend? How did you manage to balance that?
Yeah, so in the weekends, it was depending on the time that I had in terms of how far in my study I was, and also who can really help me out with the children. So don't be afraid to ask your family, your relatives, your husband, your other half, if you can, to look after the children. So you go ahead and study, because it is very, very important that when you have that availability of the time, that you put that into your studies. So yes, on the weekends, I used to ask my mom, who used to be able to help me out. Now they've gone back to Poland, because I'm originally from Poland. Actually, I'm a foreigner as well, so English is not my first language. That's another hurdle that I had. So yes, I used to ask my mom to take over my kids and keep them for an hour, 2, 3, or I used to take them to my friend's house, and I used to go to local library. I remember my friend used to help me out as well, and I used to go to the library and I used to study. You know, obviously now during the pandemic it is a little bit harder, so I understand and I feel sorry for those that don't have the availability of bringing, you know, in-laws, but you might have a partner at home who can sit down and supervise the children. Or again, do it in the evening, just spend a bit more time, as opposed to going clubbing in the night time on Saturday evening. Spend that time studying, or wake up early if you can and study earlier.
Yeah, I think absolutely spot on. I think as well, the key thing to pick up on there is, what is your available time? And then blocking it out, holding yourself accountable and saying, that is my full focus as well. And I think once you hold yourself accountable to it, you're going to get more and more productive, because you say, look, if I don't study right now in this available hour, then where else am I going to fit it in?
Exactly. Yes, it is very important. Accountability and blocking it out, making sure that even if you don't manage to stick to particular hours, because with kids, planning things really can go all over the place. But just make sure you do. You know, if you have planned to study 1 hour that day, do try to find the hour, because life happens, kids happen, you know, mess happens, guests happen, everything happens. Just find that time.
Yes, and so the viewers know, Agnes's children are in her house at the moment. So if you hear some bits in the background, we're doing this, you know, completely au naturel as well. So
I'm private with the food. They're sitting downstairs and eating, and you know, I'm hoping now, because they had some snacks on the table, they'll be quiet for a while. But yes, before we started recording, you have seen him jumping in, and I'm here. They are pretty much in the background.
Oh, superstars, they're absolutely lovely, but they've got a lot of energy. But do you have to do a lot of planning, especially especially in the run-up, the week before the exam? How did you focus in to say, look, I've got 7 days, how am I going to manage it? What was your sort of strategy there?
Again, I did study in the evening, but I just blocked out more time. So I was a bit more restless, because, you know, despite having little children that don't sleep a lot, I did just extend my time. So knowing that I only have a week, 2 weeks left, I just spent more time. So I didn't, after half an hour, when I was like, oh, I'm a little bit tired now, maybe I should go sleep, I was like, no, keep pushing. You have only 2 weeks left, you know, or you have only 1 week left. Keep going with it. Weekends, again, this is when you have time, or when you should not feel guilty to ask your parents, to ask your friends, relatives, whoever can help. Please come and help me. I've got 2 weeks to prepare. Everyone will be happy to do that for you, because it's not permanent thing that happens. It's, you know, it's just for a little while, for a short period of time, and hopefully they'll help you.
Yeah, well, I can only imagine at this point as well. But after a full day at work with children, going into the evening, you're going to be tired. You're going to be lethargic. What sort of study strategies did you actually implement? Obviously, there's going to be some reading of the text earlier on, going through the core concepts. But when it came to question practice, past papers? What was your sort of strategy there?
So at the beginning, I used to go to a structured BPP, Kaplan. I must say I've tried pretty much all of the available sources, and I did talk about this on my channel as well. I then eventually found what is called accountancy. I'm not sure you guys have ever come across accountancy. This is Richard Clark teaching in his own website, pre-recorded lessons, very structured, following ACCA syllabus. He's just recently been actually approved as a learning provider by ACCA. He's not been the time that I was studying with him, but this is because so many people loved him. They loved the way that he's actually implementing studies. He's implementing his funky cows into the studies to make it a bit more fun and interactive and interesting. So I used to follow his structures, and I used to, at the beginning, just go through his classes. I used to buy the courses that he has. They're very affordable for anyone that is trying to fund themselves. This is really, really affordable courses that you can access yourself. It's on demand. You click whenever you're available. Whenever you have that half an hour, he breaks it down into very little chunks of knowledge, because this is how I've learned with him to actually study every day for a short amount of time. And after a while, he gets recaps as well. And towards the revision time, I used to also follow his revision structure. So he then picks up the most important kind of topics of the key areas of each topic. And after every single topic, he would follow through with the real exam question. So, you know, studying past exam questions is so crucial that many people underestimates how important it is, because this is a real-time exams. Yes, this question will never ever appear again, but you get the feel of how the question is laid out, how it should be answered, and how you should approach it going forward.
Yeah, and I'm sure you probably, I used to do it all the time, was actually set a timer to say, look, this is a 20-mark question. I might have 36 minutes to do it. Set the timer. And if you do that, it's amazing how your mind focuses to say, if this was the real thing, this is go time, James. I've got to really give this a go. Yeah. You got to ask yourself, where am I at? Am I at a pass? Am I 50 plus? Or am I going to have to change something up? Because I'd rather know that 3 weeks before the exam versus 2 days before the exam. So I presume you implemented these sort of strategies as well, even with limited time.
Yes, I did try to time myself, although it is hard to find a whole 3 hours to do the exam. So yes, break it down into particular questions. Every question would tell you how many marks they allocate against that question. So try to allocate 1.8 mark per minute, as they always say, right? And see, you have half an hour for that given question. Try to answer it in half an hour. If you go over time, that's fine. You're still practicing, right? But just the closer you get to the exam, the closer to the time you're trying to stick, and make sure that you answer the most, common question, the most common answers, and cover the topics that you need to.
Yeah, it will give you the confidence, especially the night before, because I don't know about you, this will be interesting to know, because lots of ACCA students have sleepless nights, especially the night before. But how do you deal with sleep and studying as well, with so many things on your mind, with work as well? How did you cope with that?
I was always exhausted when I was going to sleep, so I had to sleep. But to be honest, before the exam, I know a lot of people say, oh, take a good rest before the exam. I even stress that as well, that it is important to have a good night rest. But knowing that you're so stressed because you're sitting the exam, you're most likely not going to sleep very well. And you will still manage to write the exam and be focused, because you need to, this is so important to do it the first time round, as opposed to coming back and back and back into the same exam. So you try to do your best in the abilities that you can, even though you've slept less than what you should do. But the day before exam, honestly, I would still revise. I would revise till whatever time I could revise, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock. Yes, it is late. And I would sleep probably only 5-6 hours that night. It wouldn't be kind of very, but 5-6 hours is enough to re-energize yourself to the point where you can still sit down and be focused on the exam. So I did spend that time the last day, because sometimes you read that article just before, the night before you sit the exam, and that question, it happened to me before, that question did come up and it's still in your mind. You can't remember everything, but you remember bits. If you grasp the concept and you understand, you're more likely to be that particular question. So yeah.
No, I completely agree with you there, because you're saying to yourself, look, I've got 2, maybe 3 hours max the night before or something, and I always used to have just say, let's have a stab on what I think is going to come up, and article was always one, and then the key concepts and the key topics, like you said, and just went, you know what, I'm going to have a punt, I'm going to go for it, I'm going to save my mind for tomorrow as much as I can. But coming on to sort of trying to get a balance, because obviously it's really, really tough with children. Did you try and incorporate like a bit of like taking them for a walk and a bit of exercise, fresh air, to try and break it up? Or sort of how did you sort of structure your day to break up from work? Because you can sometimes be sat at your desk for so long, then when it comes to studying, you've already been at your desk for how many hours that day? What structure in the day to help the viewers out there?
When I was working, because sometimes, mind you, because I had children in between, I was on maternity leave sometimes, and this is when I also used that time to, when my other children were at school and the youngest one was at home, I used to then study the time that he was at home, because I could just look at him or rock him on the chair and study. But when I was actually working and I was 9 hours or 8 hours at my desk, I would not come back home and straight into studies, because I have children at home, so I'd have to cook a dinner, I have to tidy up, put them to sleep. That takes hours. So by the time I sit down and I study, because I'm able to, it would have been 8:30, 9 o'clock maybe, depending how quick I would manage to put them to sleep. So this is the time that I studied, and then I would spend an hour, 2 hours, depending on how long I could go for it and how long I could last studying, knowing that I'm focused. Because it's important to notice when you're not able to take any more. Sometimes you force yourself and you notice that your thoughts are just going somewhere else. It's just not happening. If that's what you feel, go away. Don't study. Try to go for a walk maybe if you can, or stand up, go move around for a little while and get back to it, refocus. Because yes, it does happen that because you're so already overwhelmed with information during the day, you just can't take any more. So either go and rest or go away for a little while if you know that you still have to push with studies. It's just the balance. It's finding that kind of sweet spot where not overwhelming yourself with the knowledge.
But I think that this is what people will be resonating watching this. And also just take away the honest factor that we all get tired. We all have responsibilities at work. We all have deadlines, month end, year end, whatever it may be. Plus, on top of that, other responsibilities where you just got to say, look, I am tired, and you're just trying to do your best. That's literally it. And trying to work out a structure that works for you and to find that available time. I think everyone's going to have their own individual aspects they're going to have to fit it to. But I completely agree with all the tips that you've given out so far. But are there any other things that spring to mind as to you wouldn't be able to sleep tonight if you didn't get these things off your chest, to help that person out there that could take them from that 48, 49 to that 50 plus? What would you say? What's the last things on your mind?
Honestly, just do your best. And once you come to the exam day and you write that exam, don't assume that teacher should know, or the person that reads the exam paper, that they should know what your acronym stands for, or that they should know what you're talking about, because they need to know that you understand what you're talking about. So just write everything, even the most obvious points, and try to make sure that you're presenting it to someone that has no accounting knowledge, that needs to be able to understand it. That's my first point. And second thing, sacrifice. Remember, this is only for a very short period of time that you're studying, and the opportunities that open up afterwards is so great that is only, the sky is the limit, really. What you want to do after having ACCA membership is just so rewarding and so worth it that you don't want to miss opportunity. Just keep pushing for it. Don't worry if you fail, keep going. And I've got a great video on what to do if you fail and how to keep yourself motivated if you have failed.
Need that.
Keep going. It's so worth it. Don't give up.
Oh, the pain is temporary. It might be a minute, an hour, a day. It might be just missing out on those few extra hours. But trust me on this, we're recording this on the 10th. It's the ACCA results day on the 12th. And what I used to always have is just imagine yourself opening that text, opening that email, and getting that 40-ish result, and then think to yourself, if I just put in that final push, as you're saying, with the articles, with going through those key concepts, listening to something, picking up on other tips from other resources, and that final push that could be the 50-51, that is one of the things that really spurred me on, I would say, and which both of us try and advocate for as well. So if you are watching this and you are knackered, you are tired, and you have children, or you might not have children, don't worry, it'll be okay. Just keep going for it. Wouldn't you agree, Agnes, on that?
Yes, exactly. Just keep pushing. Never give up. It's your future that you're building right now.
Oh gosh, well, absolutely superstar today. And like I said, if anyone's got any questions or wants any other advice, as I said, I'll put Agnes's details all in the description below. Feel free to leave a comment or actually share this with one of your study buddies or friends who you know, oh, they've got a couple of children. I think they might need this. Pop it on, and look, we could be motivational speakers by the end of this. This will be it. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, are you up to much with the children for the rest of the day? Any other activities for today?
Well, since we are allowed now to see one person or up to 6 people in a circle, I'm actually having one friend over today, which I'm so excited to see. And the weather is fairly okay. I've got a large garden, so we're going to sit down outside in our jackets, just have a cup of tea together. I'm so excited because they bring over their children as well, so it should be great.
Oh, fantastic. Well, that's all right. Well, if you've made it this far in the video, I hope the tips have helped today. Let Agnes and myself know how you get on in your upcoming exam with your results. Leave it in the comments below. If you have found the video helpful, give it a massive like, and I've left all of Agnes's details below. Feel free to get in touch with her. You know she's an absolute superstar. She's got some lovely tips on there as well. But best of luck with your exam. But as always on that bombshell, we'll see you next time. Cheers.